Hello friends, I'm Abby and today I am starting my second week of the magical readathon, and this is going to be the start to a new reading vlog. And I'm starting the reading vlog by reading My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. And this is for the prompt. I don't remember off the top of my head what the name of the prompt is, but it's to read a standalone. And this book has been on my radar since last year when it came out, and I just didn't get to it last year. So this book is dark. It is hard to read. And I've heard that it is, very difficult to get through and you have to be ready to pick it up. And I just haven't been in the past. But now I think that it is the perfect time to read it. I'm ready. I feel emotionally available to give my time and energy to this book. And I have started it. I'm about 100 pages in. So let's talk about what this book is about. This is about Vanessa. Hold on, let me open these curtains, get some light in. So this book is all about Vanessa, and it shows kind of two timelines. It has Vanessa as a 15-year-old in 2000 and Vanessa as a 30-something-year-old in 2017 during the Me Too movement. And Vanessa has kind of romanticized this relationship that she had with her 40-year-old English teacher when she was 15. They had a relationship together, and she views it kind of as the most romantic, this beautiful, magical relationship that they had together. He was truly in love with her, and she was powerful, and all of this stuff. And then in 2017, that English teacher has been called out by another woman who went to the school, and that woman is claiming basically that the same thing that happened to Vanessa happened to her. And Vanessa doesn't believe her. She thinks, no, our relationship was special and magical. This woman is lying. And it's kind of exploring Vanessa's experience in high school when she is forming this relationship with her English teacher, and then 2017 exploring her as she kind of comes to terms with what actually happened in her relationship with her professor. So let's talk about this book because listen, I started it, I'm 100 pages in, and the first 15 pages, the first 25 pages, I almost DNF'd it because it was hard to read about. But I think that this book is going to be very moving and very timely in the world today, especially with the Me Too movement. And I think that it is gonna give a new perspective to grooming and to relationships between adults and teenagers, because at the beginning of the book, Vanessa's mindset is, well, no, I decided. He gave me the power to do this. I wanted things from him, so that means that he's not the one at fault, or at least not the only one at fault. She truly believes that she was capable of making that decision to have a romantic relationship with him, and that she decided to pursue that. So I think it's going to be very moving and hard to read, but very important to see kind of the nuances between what is a consensual, loving relationship versus a grooming, coerced relationship where the adult who has all of the power and all of the control makes the child believe that they are the one who chose this so that that adult can't get in trouble. I almost DNF'd it, but then I got a little bit further in, kind of changed my mindset a little bit, and I feel much better about reading it. Also, the writing style in this so far is fantastic. I absolutely love the writing. It's gorgeous. It is evocative of these beautiful images. Of course, there is a lot of description that depicts the sexual relationship between this adult and this young girl. So if that is something you are not able to handle, that is no shame. Do not pick this book up because it is difficult to read. It makes me feel sick. It is just hard to get through. But if you are able to handle that, this book so far in the first 100 pages has been extremely moving in terms of creating these images in my mind, making me feel sick, making me feel like I am a confused 15-year-old, and then also writing this beautiful imagery of what her world, Vanessa's world as an adult looks like now, and tying together how her past kind of led to this. So stunning. so far. I can't wait to keep reading it and see what happens. Today is Sunday. I had a wonderful day yesterday. Brent and I babysat our nephews, and we took them to the zoo. We walked around the zoo. We kind of just hung out, and I read a little bit during nap time. It was great. It was a nice, relaxing, beautiful day. The weather has been absolutely perfect the past few days. So today is Sunday. It's Sunday morning. I am up. I have to edit a video, but today we don't really have any plans. Brent and I are just kind of hanging out, seeing where the day takes us. So my plan is to edit this video and then maybe get back to reading a little bit. I have my coffee. I'm ready to settle in and get some work done so that I can relax for the rest of the day. It's time for an update. So I spent the afternoon doing some chores. I still have some more to do, but we got some stuff done throughout this morning and this early afternoon. I finished editing that video. I went to the grocery store. I switched the laundry over and got all of that ready to go so that I can put all the laundry away this afternoon. But while I did most of that, I listened to the audiobook for My Dark Vanessa, and I got a little over halfway. I'm at the 200-page mark, and this book is definitely really, really well written and very hard to listen to, especially because the abuse and the situations in the past scenes, like in the early 2000s, when you're seeing Vanessa as like a young teenage girl, you're seeing her in real time experience these things and try to grapple with the emotions that being coerced by an adult man who is very clearly a well-developed predator, like he has been perfecting his predator game. To see that happening in real time is really shocking and like hard to watch, because the way he flips things around on her and the experiences she's going through, and a lot of them are pretty normal, like mid-teens experiences in terms of like falling in love for the first time and having a first boyfriend and really doing all of those, young adult romantic things that you dream about doing. She is experiencing all of those with someone who is seeking her out to basically make her their victim. Like, it is really just hard to read about. But there are so many, I wish this was my copy because I would be tabbing it up a whole lot. There are so many poignant quotes that I think are wonderful, especially in the modern day, like 2017 chapters, where it's in the presence of the Me Too movement and you're seeing Vanessa as an adult kind of re-look at her past experiences and see them through the lens of the way other people have always viewed her experiences, and especially in the modern day where it is more acceptable and more widely known to talk about your previous abuse as a woman. She is seeing kind of how it looks to other people, and more women in the modern day chapters have come forward, and she's starting to realize that her experiences that she thought were special and life-changing and magical were not so special and unique to her, that this experience he promised her and he gave her, claiming to love her when she was a child, may not be true and may not be the way she perceived them. And that's a really tough thing to come to terms with and to handle even as a full adult. Like, her entire childhood and current life was shaped around these experiences, and she now has to face those. It's really, really difficult for her as a character and for us as a reader to see her going through these things and having to have these really difficult discussions. This book is so moving, and I think that as a woman in America especially, where the Me Too movement took place and is currently taking place, this book is so poignant and so meaningful. So I'm excited to keep reading it today. Like I said, I still have to put the laundry away. We have to make dinner. And it's really only, I don't know, maybe 2:30 right now. So we'll see what happens. I will update you when I've read more. I have finished 100 more pages of My Dark Vanessa. And this book, I think, is, if you like literary fiction, I think this will be right up your alley, because this book is very character based. Like, the characters are running this whole show, but it is not very plot driven. Like, there's no fast paced plot, there's no super intense twists. It is fairly straightforward. Like, what you were promised in the synopsis, that's what you're getting. And it really is made, I think this book is written to help us think about things in a different way. And one of the things I like about this book is it gives a perspective from a person who, during a movement like this, doesn't feel that sharing their story would be helpful to them. So, you know, we hear a lot about the Me Too movement and how important it is for people to come forward and share their stories. And Vanessa in this book is very much of the opinion that sharing her story wouldn't really do anything. Like, she doesn't feel the need to share what happened to her, and she's still coming to terms with it. And I think that that is a really interesting perspective to have, especially when you do have this person who is being accused by so many women already. Vanessa is kind of thinking, well, what good does it do for me to come forward? Like, let me deal with it in my own way. And I just think that's a very interesting storyline to follow. Like, that's not a typical story we get. Something else I like about this book is not a whole lot of people talk about this book as being like dark academia, but I do think that it could fall in that category, partly because of the writing. It is very lyrical, it's very atmospheric. The author's talking about crunching fall leaves and mountains of snow, piles of snow building up, and this beautiful historic college, or private school, I should say. So in this book, I don't think I've mentioned, Vanessa is going to a private, like, boarding school type thing for essentially rich families, and she's going there on a scholarship. So she already feels a little bit like an outsider. She already feels a little bit alone at this school because she's far away from her family. You live in dorms. I think that part of this book and part of the catalyst for the story is Vanessa's differences from the typical student of this school, because she's targeted because she is different and she is kind of alone. But you're getting so many like dark academia vibes, like I said, partly because of the writing, but also because Vanessa herself is an author. She writes poetry, dark poetry specifically, so you're getting a little bit of that like dark literary vibe. There's a lot of discussion around classic books and poetry. That really is like a strong dark academia atmosphere. And I think this book does a good job of doing what I think is essential in dark academia, which is to target a point of academia as a whole and bring that like darkness to light. So in this book, clearly we're seeing the way professors in this school setting, and really in many school settings, but especially in these where kids are isolated from their parents, you're seeing the power that they're using and holding above these kids' heads. Astounding. I am feeling pretty tired, so I'm actually going to take a break from reading for a little bit. Brent spent his Sunday free building a swing, like a porch swing, but we don't have a porch. So he built a swing out of wood, and we are going to hang it from a big tree branch in our backyard, and I'm so excited about it. It looks great. He just like brought some spare wood home from work and was like, I think I'm going to build a bench, like a porch swing maybe. And today he just did it. Like, no planning, just kind of like sat down and fiddled with it until a porch swing appeared. So we're going to stain that tonight. He's sanding it right now so that we can stain it. That's what I'm going to do next. And then I think we're probably just going to eat some dinner, do some chores, prepare for another crazy week of work, But I'm having a great Sunday so far, and I'm hopeful that I can finish my Dark Vanessa tonight, because this is the third prompt in the Magical Readathon out of 7. So we'll see if I can finish this today and start my work week with a brand new book. I finished my Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and I really truly enjoyed this. I thought that it was gritty and dark. I think it gave a very interesting perspective to the Me Too movement and to people who experience something as traumatic as being assaulted as a child. It just shows that experience in a completely new and I think previously unwritten light. It says on the front, an absolute must read. I do feel that the brutal honesty of this book made it a must read. Like, you should read this book if you think that you can handle it, because it really was very eye-opening. And I think that this book took this idea and did with it what I wanted all the ugly and wonderful things I wanted that to do. This did everything I wanted that to do. This gave us the perspective of the victim and actually depicted like what their literal experience from the lead up to the grooming to post abuse and how you're coping with it, and showing that coping isn't as easy as just sharing your story and moving forward, and that justice isn't done the way that we always expect it to be. Vanessa as a character is very frustrating a lot of times. Of course, Strain as a character, the professor or the teacher, is very, very frustrating, and watching the other adults in Vanessa's life get kind of suspicious and still do nothing was very frustrating. Like, my overall sense after this book is frustration. Like, I just feel frustrated and kind of sick. Like, reading this book just made me feel physically ill at moments. And Vanessa imagines this as a romantic story, and so the beginning of this book really reads more like an age gap romance, but as the book progresses you can see how dark and twisted it is, that this teacher is taking advantage of a young and vulnerable girl, and it was hard to read about. But I did it, and I'm glad I did, because this book really gave me so much to think about, and I think it's one that will stick with me throughout my life. And so I just really enjoyed this book, and I haven't decided what I'm going to rate it. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars because it was very impactful and I really enjoyed it, but it just isn't a 5-star feeling for me. Although the writing was lovely, and I do think there are so many quotable moments in this book. So I read this book for the prompt, The Mist of Solitude, to read a standalone. And I'm going to shift into the next prompt, Ruin of the Sky, which is to read a book featuring ghosts or supernatural elements. For that, I am planning to read The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This book I don't know a whole lot about. I know that it is historical fiction and that it takes place on a boat, and that people are trying to solve this like murder mystery on this boat, and they think that the devil or a demon might have possessed the boat because crazy things start happening and unexplainable things. So I'm not sure if this book will actually be supernatural, but I'm reading it for this prompt because it potentially could be. I didn't have great luck with Stuart Turton's first book, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It is a BookTube favorite, but for me, I just found it kind of lacking, like a little tiny bit boring. So I'm excited to pick this up, but, I am a little worried about my thoughts. But I do feel a little bit vindicated because Meg with Books here on BookTube didn't love 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and was a little bit disappointed by it. And she gave The Devil and the Dark Water 5 stars. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this will be a good book for me. It is another big one. Why am I doing this to myself? I don't know. But I'm going to get started with reading this, and I will probably update you tomorrow. A little bench update. We finished staining it. It is good to go. Brent went out and bought some rope, and he is hanging it as we speak. So tomorrow I'll give you a little bit of a clip of this new bench, our new porch swing. We're hanging it from a tree, but it is still considered a porch swing. And I'm just so excited to have it. So I'll give you a bench update tomorrow. Hi, I did not have a great Monday. I feel like it was just the day itself. Like, it wasn't just me. Everybody I've talked to has said, like, this has been an awful day. So I'm wondering if it's just, like, something in the air or, I don't know, something's going on in the universe that's making everybody have a bad Monday. But it was not a good work day. So I came home. I cooked a delicious dinner. We had barbecue chicken. And now I'm in my sweater. And I'm planning on settling and reading. But I wanted to update you first that I'm 100 pages into The Devil and the Dark Water. And let me just say I'm already enjoying it way more than The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I just think the writing is so much more streamlined. The chapters are shorter. I'm feeling like rather than every chapter being a whole story, it's flowing in a fluid motion that I really enjoy and I like much more than the format of 7.5 Deaths. I don't really know what's going on yet. So this book, let me tell you what it's about. So this book is all about Arendt and Sammy, who are kind of this known mystery-solving duo. And Sammy, for some reason at the start of this book, is under arrest, and he's being transported on this ship. And the ship, as they're boarding it, a man who seems to be possessed stands up and says, this ship is cursed and is not going to make it to Amsterdam. And so Arendt and Sammy are both kind of like, excuse me, why is this ship cursed? What is this man talking about? So they're kind of on the ship investigating what's going on, except Sammy is in jail. So it kind of all falls onto Arendt, who is really the bodyguard half. Like, he's the bronze of the Brain and Brawn pair, and he's not used to solving mysteries on his own. And then we also have Sarah, who is the wife of the governor, and she is worried about her daughter who's on the ship, and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to the ship while they are in transit, and so she's also trying to solve this mystery. And I think at some point Arendt and Sarah are going to team up and be a new, like, crime-solving duo because Sammy is locked up. On the back, the kind of blurb says, a murder on the high seas, a detective duo, a demon who may or may not exist. In the first 100 pages, we have really only gotten introduced to all the characters. There's a ton of characters. And I think that Stuart Turton does a good job of introducing you to everybody early on so that you don't really know who a suspect might be. And in fact, everybody is kind of a suspect. Right now, everyone has a motive and no one has a motive. Like, it is just a really good setup for a murder mystery. There's no reason that we know so far that anyone would want to kill anybody or destroy this entire ship. But there's definitely a lot of secrets going on, and the governor has some secrets. The captain is a little bit shady. There are lots and lots of characters in this book, so it really could be anybody at this point. And we also don't really know why Sammy's under arrest, so I don't know when we're going to find that out, but I'm interested to see the details behind that. And ultimately, this is just pretty fast-paced, very typical, like a nautical story. It's taking place almost exclusively on the ship, and I really enjoy stories set on the water and set on high seas. So I think that I will definitely enjoy this one much more than 7.5 Deaths. I absolutely enjoy it more already, so I can only imagine it goes uphill from here. And I really just think that Stuart Turton does a good job of melding and, like, bending genres and coming up with concepts and ideas that are just really unique and that we haven't seen before. That's what I loved most about 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, is it was such a unique story. So I think that this one is going to be very similar. And I don't know if there's actually going to be ghosts or supernatural elements. Definitely seems like there will be, but I guess we'll wait and see. I'm excited to keep reading. I got a flu shot today, and my arm hurts so bad already. So I'm, like, trying just to keep it moving. That's the other reason that I just plopped a sweater on, is because my arm hurts. And I just didn't want to deal with wearing real people clothes. Like, my work clothes had to be changed immediately. So I'm going to go settle in and keep reading. I'm really enjoying this so far, and I'm hoping to get maybe another 100 pages done tonight. I don't know. We'll see. Happy Tuesday. I'm home from work. As you know, Tuesdays I go to boot camp, so I worked out. And now I'm home, waiting for Brent to get home so we can eat some dinner. But in the past 24 hours, I have read another 100 pages of The Devil in the Dark Water, which puts me about halfway, and I'm really enjoying it. Things have gotten really strange. It definitely is leaning toward the paranormal at this point. I don't know that it'll stay that way because I don't think this book is marketed as a horror. I think it's marketed as a mystery, which makes me think that there will be some kind of explanation for it. But basically what's going on at this halfway point is they are searching for this demon that is potentially living inside of a person on the ship. And weird things are happening, like things that are mentioned in the synopsis, but they're really ominous things that people don't think a normal person could do or would be able to accomplish, especially in like a short amount of time. So it's very interesting and it's keeping me hooked. Like I definitely want to know what's going on. This book also has a nice undertone of like women power in the 1600s because this book is set in 1634. It is not the most feminist time period, but you have Sarah, who's one of the main characters. She's starting to team up with Arndt, and I think that they are going to make a great team because he's basically like a giant teddy bear, which is my favorite type of man in like a romance situation. It's like a big beefy dude who's really, really sweet. He's just trying to make up from all of the mistakes he's made in the past. But Sarah's husband is the governor, super misogynistic, hates women, doesn't even want anything to do with them unless he's taking them to bed. And she's just kind of done with it. Like, she's sick of her daughter having to hide her brilliance. She's sick of not being able to say her piece in meetings when the men are making stupid decisions. So she's ready to solve this mystery and like make a name for herself and work together with Arndt. And Arndt is giving her a voice. And I think that that's really sweet and that dynamic is really good. So I'm just going to keep reading this tonight. I'm pretty settled in. Once we eat dinner, it's just kind of a relaxing evening. So I'm going to keep reading this and see how far I can get tonight. Okay, I am taking a pause from reading because I'm about to make one of our favorite recipes. I haven't made it yet this year, but I absolutely love to make soup, especially if I can make it in the crock pot. It just really makes our fall experience better. So we really like Zuppa Toscana soup from Olive Garden, and I found a really awesome recipe last year that was a crock-pot Zuppa Toscana copycat recipe. So I'm going to do that. I thought I'd kind of like walk you through what I do because it's super easy and doesn't take very many ingredients at all. So basically all you need is sausage. So I'm going to go get my sausage. We like Italian sausage, but you can use whatever kind you want. And you need an onion. You need an onion and garlic. That is all you have to cook ahead of time. So basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cook this sausage up. Once the sausage is browned, I'm going to add onions and garlic and kind of cook that on the skillet until it is, like, the onions are soft. Then I throw those in the crock pot. Then you also just have to chop up like 4 tomatoes, 4 potatoes, and those potatoes you just throw the uncooked like raw potato into the crock pot with your mixture. Put some chicken broth on top of that, and then once it is cooked, like at the very end, so like tomorrow, I will be adding in heavy whipping cream and spinach. The recipe calls for kale, but we prefer spinach, so I just throw in some baby spinach. So I'm going to cook that up tonight. I'm going to cook up all the parts that need cooked so that I can put it in the crock pot, put the crock pot in the fridge, and then tomorrow morning, all I have to do is wake up, throw the crock pot on, push go, and leave for work. It's the best way to cook dinner because I don't actually have to work that hard. So I'm going to take a break from reading to cook this. I'm going to watch some BookTube while I do it.
I am home from my coffee date with my friend Lydia. We meet up every once in a while for a fun coffee date to catch up, and it was wonderful to see her and catch up on our lives. So I'm home from that, and I wanted to update you on my reading because I reached the 300-page mark in The Devil in the Dark Water, and I'm still really, really enjoying it. There's not a whole lot I can tell you at this point that wouldn't be a spoiler, but it definitely is getting very eerie and a little bit paranormal, and it's still continuing down this path of is it paranormal or isn't it? It has a very classic Agatha Christie murder mystery feel. It reads very much like what I imagine a Sherlock Holmes or an Agatha Christie would read like, where you have this kind of classic language mixed with a murder mystery going on, but with an added element of demonologica and this idea that a possession is happening on the ship, plus the isolated setting of being on a ship. It definitely got cramped. Like, people are killing each other, people are super heightened, there's fighting going on. It's just very tense in that situation, so it makes the book feel very isolated. The book also has, I don't think I've mentioned it before, a multiple POV, so there are many characters who are chiming in. You never really know. It doesn't follow a pattern over who is going to be our narrator for the chapter, and that really throws you for a loop because as a reader, I don't know who is innocent, I don't know who is guilty, I don't know if just because we've heard from someone's perspective if they're innocent, I don't know what's going on. We don't know. We're thrown this like confusion because you're not just reading from the perspective of the people solving the crimes, you're also reading from the perspective of a lot of these big names on the boat. So very interesting. Definitely adds a twist to murder mysteries that I've read before, because in this we're getting so many perspectives that I truly don't know who the murderer or who the person stealing things or committing these crimes, who the possessed person might be on this ship. I will say at the 300-page mark, it's about 75%, and there is a really good summary that happens where a character comes in and basically sums up all of the clues for you, because this book is long. So by the 300-page mark, you've gotten so much information that I started to feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, I have no idea who might be at fault. I have no idea what we even know so far. And a character comes in and summarizes it really nicely so that as I continue reading for the rest of the book, I have kind of a refresher of, okay, update, here's what we know so far, here are the hints we have, here are the clues we have and we still need to find, and here's what we're going to do next. It just wraps it up really nicely so that I can go through the rest of the book knowing everything that the characters know and trying to solve it myself. Helps a lot, and I think it was really geniusly woven in. So I really appreciate that from Stuart Turton. Very helpful. Update on the soup. It was great. One of our favorite recipes. I highly recommend you check it out. We use the allrecipes.com recipe, so if you want to check it out, maybe I'll try to link it down below. But it is a really great substitute and copycat recipe for the zuppa toscana Olive Garden soup, and it's super easy to make. So, highly recommend that. I'm going to get back to reading, and I will update you next time I read a little bit more of this book. Actually, I think I will update you again when I finish, because I only have about 120 pages left, so I will update you when I have finished Devil in the Dark Water. I have finished The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I finished it this morning while I ate breakfast, and I think I'm going to give this 4 stars. I think that this was really enjoyable. It was fast-paced. It had very short chapters, and I think that that really helped me fly through it because I really just kept reading chapter after chapter after chapter, and before I knew it, 100 pages were gone. So even though this is a very big book, it did not take me very long to read it all.
And I really truly enjoyed the characters. Arendt and Sarah are for sure the best characters in this book, but really every character has their special moment. And although I didn't absolutely love, like I'm not in love with the way this book wrapped up, I think that the way the mystery was solved and was wrapped up was done pretty well. And the very end, I think some people will absolutely love it and some might be a little disappointed. But ultimately, I think that it was a very good book. And if you like murder mysteries or mysteries set on the high seas, potentially paranormal mysteries, you should pick this up because I really, really enjoyed this. And with that, we are moving from Ruin of the Sky to Obsidian Falls. So the Obsidian Falls prompt is to read a thriller or a mystery. And I'm switching up from my original TBR because a book recently became available at the library that I've really been looking forward to. And so I'm going to read that instead of what I originally planned. So I will be reading The Dead and the Dark by Courtney Gold. This is a young adult horror thriller mystery book. I believe it's also paranormal, and it is about these two girls, and I think it's a sapphic romance, but it takes place in Oregon where teenagers disappear, some are turning up dead, and really just there's a lot of like eerie and weird stuff going on in the town. And Logan, the main character, is the daughter of TV's like famous haunted house and haunted town investigators. And so her and her dads arrive at Snakebite, Oregon to kind of investigate this small town and figure out what's going on. Ashley, her boyfriend, has gone missing and she really wants to solve the murders. And so I think Ashley and Logan team up to figure out what is going on in this town. So it's basically like a ghost hunting story with two girls who I believe will end up having a sapphic romance. So I'm very excited to get into that. I've heard really good things. And of course, this cover is absolutely stunning. So I'm very excited and I'm happy that the library finally had it available, finally got it in, because I'm planning on reading that next. So with that being said, I worked a long day today, so I'm going to go cook some dinner and talk to my husband for a little bit, and then I'm going to crack open this bad boy. I'm 100 pages into The Dead and the Dark, and so far I'm enjoying it. It reads a lot like Courtney Summers, which Courtney Summers blurbed it, so I think that makes sense. But it so far is featuring Logan, who is the daughter of the two paranormal hunters, and they are both her dads, and she is kind of, I don't know, she's getting sick of the life of traveling around filming all these shows. Like, she wants to finally settle down somewhere. So we're following her as she goes with her dads back to Snakebite, Oregon, which is where they grew up. And she thinks, you know what, I'm just going to get through these next 3 months, and then I'm going to move out on my own and settle into a house and like finally find a place to call home. She just graduated high school, so she is ready to kind of get out of here and move forward with her life, because her life has pretty much always taken second place to the TV show, and she especially feels that way with one of her dads, Brandon. So I think that dynamic is very interesting in the book so far. And we're also following Ashley, who, like I said, her boyfriend disappears and is one of the first teenagers to disappear. And in the first 100 pages, we see them, the two girls, Logan and Ashley, kind of team up and decide that they are going to solve Tristan, the boyfriend's disappearance, so that Ashley can have her life go back to normal, and so that Logan can finally get out of Snakebite, because she is just ready to move on. But there are also some interlude chapters, which I think is very interesting. It starts with an interlude chapter, and it is from the perspective of the dark, which I believe this book is paranormal, and it's categorized as horror, which is why I think that. I'm really enjoying it, and the dark perspective is definitely making it very thrillery. This reads very much like a young adult thriller. Fast-paced, things are happening, time is moving very quickly, so we're not like sitting too long in like a small town, because that's kind of what I was worried about, was nothing happening in this like podunk small town. But it's got a good balance of eerie and quick-paced scenes. Now, I will say something I'm not liking about this. the way that the two girls team up, I think just happens very inorganically and very quickly. It just kind of is like happenstance, and I just didn't love the way that that happened. So I'm hoping that their characters develop really well, but right now they are both very one note for me. I'm not loving either character, and I think that this book, as it goes further, I will get more of a connection to them. But as of right now, they're both pretty typical young adult characters in my opinion. So I'm going to keep reading tonight. I have the house to myself for the entire evening because Brent is hanging out with my dad, having a guys' night. I have the house to myself and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to read. I got myself some dinner from Noodles and Company and the weather's beautiful. So I'm going to sit outside for a little while, read my book, snack a little bit, and just kind of see where the night takes me. I am 200 pages into The Dead in the Dark, so I'm a little over halfway, and this book is quite a ride. It is very interesting. It's definitely like very much like watching a paranormal hunter TV show. A lot of like exploring creepy places and exploring unexplained sounds and unexplained voices and things like that. There's a cool element of Logan stealing her dad's paranormal exploring gear and using the like ghost hunting tools to try to figure out whether or not there's ghost activity in this town. That was really interesting. And ultimately, I'm just unsure how to feel at this point. It's definitely quick. I'm flying through it. Like, I have only been reading for maybe a couple hours and I'm over halfway through. So it definitely is going by quickly and I want to know what happened. But I also find myself very frustrated in young adult thrillers specifically because there always seems to be this element of, well, you're just a kid and that's the reason you can't know everything right now. But like, we'll tell you everything eventually. And that, I don't want to say trope, but that idea really frustrates me, especially because I'm an adult. So the idea of someone saying like, no, you can't know right now, but like, I'll tell you eventually, pulling like the parent card, I just can't get on board with because I would be absolutely fuming if my parents said that to me now as a full-grown adult. But I understand that this is a young adult book written primarily for young adults. So I'm not holding that against it, but for me as an adult reader, it is frustrating to see some of these barriers being put in place because they are kids. I just wish that they could solve the mystery because clearly they were doing a good job and people are trying to stop them. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I'm unsure really how to feel at this point. But my plans for the evening have changed because my friend Danielle asked if I wanted to come over and drink some wine and read with her on her couch, and I absolutely do. So I put on my sweater because I'm settling in for a night of reading and wine with my friend, and I'm so excited. So I'm going to head over there. I probably won't vlog a whole lot, but I'm very excited for this nice, relaxing girls' night. Good morning. I am 300 pages into The Dead in the Dark. I read part of it last night and then part of it this morning, and I'm so close to the end, and I'm actually really loving it. Like, it's so fast-paced, and honestly, like, I was going to read more last night, but when I got home from Danielle's house, I was so tired and I was still alone, and I had just finished a chapter that was like very creepy, and I was worried that if I kept reading by myself at home that I would not be able to sleep. So I stopped reading and I'm gonna try to finish it either today or tomorrow, but it has vibes, y'all. It is very spooky. It is very young adult. Like, it reads very much like a young adult novel, but I do think that the mystery is really good. I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused, and I think that that is part of the goal of the book, is to make you kind of wonder who could be at fault. And since this book is paranormal, you're kind of wondering the whole time. There are characters that can see ghosts in this book, and so the whole time you're wondering, like, who is real, who is not, is someone dead, are they gonna pull like a this person has been dead the whole time kind of twist. So I'm really just waiting to get answers for what is going on in this book. But at the 300-page mark, we're finally getting like the backstory that we've been waiting for. And I can't wait to find out what's happening because I'm actually very invested. Like, I'm not invested in the romance in this book. I feel like it was very underdeveloped because the mystery takes so much precedence in this book. And I think that's fine, but I wish that this book maybe didn't include the romance. I don't know, like the romance is fine, but I just don't think that the two go well together. I don't think that their dynamic is great. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't love it. It felt very like barely friends to all of a sudden we're best friends and in love. I just didn't love that dynamic. But I'm excited about this mystery and this ghost story because I think that that is going to be the selling point of this book for me. So today I'm reading. I am gonna maybe get a coffee with a friend, might spend some time with Mackenzie, and really just have a fun, relaxing Saturday. Brent is gone. Again, he's at the Ohio State game today, so I have the house to myself. I plan to just relax. I can't wait. It has been a long day of just relaxing and reading, and my friend Mackenzie and I we have been reading our way through a book series together, and so we sat down and we read the next book in the series beginning to end today, and it was great. It was great to just kind of read one book in one sitting. I haven't done that in a long time, so we did that today, but in the process of doing that, with this morning and tonight, I finished The Dead and the Dark by Courtney Gold, which was my goal, was to have this finished by Saturday night. So we did it. This book I actually really, really enjoyed. I didn't love the romance. I'm sticking true to my original feelings about it, where I just didn't love the romance. I honestly think this book might have been better served without it, and if it had focused more on these girls developing as friends. But I understand the author's perspective in this book of wanting to create a story where two girls who are both suffering from like unimaginable things, finding love and hope in a world and in a town full of hate. And I think that that was a very interesting story, but I also think that story was really well served through Logan's dad's, because their relationship is experiencing a lot of the hardships that Logan and Ashley are facing in this book. So it just didn't feel like it was necessary. But I did really like Logan. She was a great character to me. I thought that she was sassy. She was interesting and fully developed. I didn't like Ashley as much, but I think that she served the purpose that she was there to serve. And I really liked the ghost element of the story. That was my favorite part. I think that this is such a unique ghost story and supernatural story. I think that the way we get the backstory and the way that we get the explanation of the paranormal elements was really, really cool. And I like that there are some questions about the paranormal world that are just kind of left unanswered, because there aren't really answers for paranormal elements. I think that that was really well done. So ultimately, I think that this had great vibes. I think the characters were really, really good. I loved the ghost element. The only part of this that wasn't great for me was the romance. I think the mystery in this was fantastic. Like the murders and figuring out who was doing it was great. I really liked it. I highly recommend this if you like young adult thriller or mystery and want something with confirmed paranormal elements. This does have ghosts and like paranormal supernatural elements in it. So this was definitely exactly what I was looking for. And this fulfilled the prompt Obsidian Falls to read a thriller or a mystery. This week, I completed 3 prompts. I started with The Mist of Solitude and read My Dark Vanessa, which I ended up giving 4 stars. Then I fulfilled the prompt Ruin of the Sky, which was a book featuring a ghost or supernatural elements, and I read The Devil and the Dark Water. And then lastly, Obsidian Falls, The Dead and the Dark, all of which had the word dark in them. So could this also double as a Buzzwordathon reading vlog? You tell me. I think it could. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you next week in my last week of reading for this magical readathon for the Aurelium Academy. I'm so excited that I have been able to get through so many of these books so far. I will see you all next time. Please like, comment, subscribe. Share this video with anyone who you think would enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.